All right, we're back here on Go Big Orange Friday. Ethan Stone, Ryan Schumpert here as they are every single week, except for Ethan Stone, who was gone for the last couple of weeks because Ethan Stone went and got himself married, putting the pressure on Ryan Schumpert with my marriage coming up in 3 weeks. We got Ethan locked down. I'm locked down. Ryan, you're next up.
We don't have a whole lot of traction on that front. I'm sad to report, but yeah, I mean, the pressure is going to be put on me here in about a month.
Well, there's no rush, man. There's no rush. I know I look younger than I am, but 31, it's about that time. I will say at the Maryville Powell game last night, someone asked me on the sideline, they were like, do you go to Maryville or Powell? And I looked over and I was like, oh, no.
That is tough.
That it was tough. But yeah, so there you go. Ethan, how was the wedding? How was the honeymoon? You went to Hawaii. Did you cross paths with the Vanderbilt Commodores coming in and out of the building or no?
I did not. I've seen in some of their Twitter videos and stuff like that. I've been like, hey, I know, the Leonardo DiCaprio meme from
yes.
I did that a couple times when they'd post stuff on Twitter. Like, hey, I was just there, but it was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it. We spent a week there in Oahu, and then we went to Kauai. I was a big fan of that, and obviously a big fan of Aaron. So we're getting off to a strong start here.
That's good, man. They say the first week's the hardest. That's what they say. I like it. Well, I'm happy for you, man. That's great. But we must move forward with some Tennessee football because did you hear about this? Did you see this? Tennessee football is back next Thursday. There's a lot of fun stuff I think to consider here. And the first thing that's extremely fun is the status of Bru McCoy's eligibility. People are really having a fun time with this. The USC athletic department's really having a fun time with fall Twitter. Can only imagine what some of those voicemails have entailed in the USC athletic office. But Ethan, what do you make of the Bru McCoy impending eligibility issues, and how do you think it ultimately unfolds?
I just finished writing something about this for Saturday Down South. One of my first plan pieces was actually just kind of going back and looking at how unlucky Tennessee has been just with all of that, because we had a weekly meeting and someone actually brought it up, and I was like, you know what? I've known that in the back of my mind, but you're absolutely correct. Stuff just seems to hit Tennessee unlike it does other SEC programs. Aubrey Solomon comes to mind. Cade Mays with his dad and his finger comes to mind immediately. I mean, getting away from football, Uros Plavsic, that comes to mind. All that whole thing happening with Tennessee basketball a couple of years ago. So this Bru McCoy thing is nothing new. The drama is nothing new for Tennessee. How it unfolds, I have no way of knowing, to be totally honest. It could be an Aubrey Solomon situation where 4 days before game time against Ball State, which I guess would be just in a couple days here, he is declared eligible by the NCAA, and then he has to kind of go through that whole process again, maybe with the SEC, to see if he'll be eligible for that. And I don't know. To be totally honest with you, seeing how it's been in the past with these transfers, I would be very surprised if he's playing week 1 against Ball State on Thursday.
Ryan, what do you think? Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, I'd throw even into the guys that Ethan listed. Byron Young last year was the same situation. He missed the first 2 games, and yeah, I mean, we're 6 days out here, so I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I don't have a lot of optimism that he's going to be eligible for Bowling Green or for Ball State game 1. But I think in the end, my guess is that he'll still get eligible. When that'll be, I'm not sure. If it's Tennessee's case, you surely hope it's going to be before Pittsburgh. You're going to be able to get past Ball State easily without him. You'd expect it would just be nice for a guy that's in a new offense who had a hip surgery this offseason to knock some rust off week 1. So we'll see. And I think I said back at the beginning of fall camp that I thought this was going to be a bigger deal than anyone was talking about at the time. And a lot of that because of what Ethan said of the history of it. It seems like we're always down to this last week with there being someone, whether it's J.J. Peterson, who obviously that wasn't a transfer. That was just getting academically eligible. But it's always something. And I think at this point, it would be, to me, a little bit surprising if he's eligible by game 1.
I mean, the main thing is just game 2, right? Like the pick game is where you ultimately win. But it's so strange because you listen to all the people just really in the know here, and it seems like they're all just because it's up to the NCAA, like this could just go on the whole season. It could be done tomorrow. We have no idea. And then just the back and forth of what USC. So Ryan, explain to me like I'm five, going full Michael Scott here. Explain to me like I'm five, what that actually means when there's been pushback from some other Vols beat writers on USC doing everything they could to just expedite this process for Bru McCoy.
Yeah, so I've had it explained to me like I'm 5'2". So here's my understanding of the situation. You have this original process to get eligible, which is essentially the school that the player came from can sign off on it and essentially make them eligible. And that's where in the past, like you've seen cases where you hear kid gets denied, he's eligibility denied, and he's appealing the process, and he's appealing to the NCAA this time, not the former school. And essentially, instead of USC declining or accepting that eligibility, they're just sitting on that sheet. They haven't touched it. They're not doing anything with it. So Tennessee is essentially, I think they did this all the way back maybe a week and a half ago now, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, went ahead. And typically you have that waiver that you apply after you get declined. They went ahead and did that to the NCAA before. So that's how it is kind of simultaneously in the NCAA's hands, where I think USC is claiming in that process, they're not interfering. They're not feeding any negative information to the NCAA about Bru McCoy, but at the same time, they can sign that sheet. They still are sitting on that and can make him eligible at any moment. So that's kind of, I think the half truth is the line Austin Price has used. That's my understanding of the situation and kind of how we've gotten here, and how it relates to kind of typically the timeline you see on this type of stuff.
Interesting. I'm also kind of like, I wonder if it's kind of a blessing if if Bru's not eligible for the first game, just to see what the Vols have in Walker Merrill and just who they're going to have behind him. Like that might be able to put Jalen Hyatt outside for a little bit in that one and kind of experiment with Jimmy Callaway in the slot and Jalen out wide. Like I wonder if it gives them more room to experiment in week one and just see what they have behind Bru, because I feel like based on the daily reporting at camp and stuff like that, Bru's ready to go, and like Bru's going to be the guy, and they're not worried about Bru McCoy in that spot. And if he comes back, you know what you have in the former 5-star kid, like Bru McCoy. Like it's a good idea of what they got there, but they don't really know with Walker and company behind him, and maybe Caleb Webb gets some snaps. Maybe it's just I think there's more intrigue because everybody's going to play in the Ball State game, but I don't know. It's something to monitor over the course of the next couple weeks. Ryan, what was your favorite Lyn-J Dixon moment during his time at Tennessee? What was your favorite practice moment that you'll never forget?
There was this out route that I watched him run when the receiver or the running backs and quarterbacks were working on routes on air, and I mean it was crisp. I mean, Alvin Kamara in Sanford Stadium to take the lead in 2016. It was boom. It was just like that. I mean, it was a phenomenal play in a phenomenal era that Lyn-J Dixon had. I mean, almost as long as Kevin Still lasted in Knoxville, and sadly
not as
for
much money
Lyn-J,
though.
as I say, sadly for Lyn-J, I don't think he gets that $1 million buyout that Kevin Still finagled out of his alma mater.
I mean, hey, it's good business if you can make it happen. Ethan, when you look at the 4 scholarship running backs now left on the roster, a lot of folks worried. Like I think Princeton Fant is RB number 5 if it comes to it. You had a walk on last year, get some carries because Tennessee was so, and people were like, oh, who cares about the 5th spot? It's like, well, they were at the 5th spot for a little bit last year with Pierce. What do you think of just the leanness on this in this running back room now? Is this something to be seriously concerned about derailing Tennessee's season?
I don't think Lyn-J Dixon by any means is the guy that it's going to teeter on. If Lyn-J Dixon's there, then Tennessee's going to be a great team, and if he's not, they're going to be a good team. Me personally, I've been up to camp, and I haven't been near practice recently, and I haven't been as enveloped as I was a while ago. But I don't think I think Tennessee's going to be fine. I mean, having what I've heard from guys like Dylan Sampson and Justin Thomas, obviously, is that they've been solid, I guess, as freshmen. And knowing that Jalen Wright and Jabari Small are going to do their thing, and injuries are a thing, I understand. But if they go out there and they do their thing like they did last season, Tennessee's going to be fine. And hopefully you never even get to the point where you need to rely on the freshmen. And if you do, from what I've heard, they've been pretty solid in camp. Now, Ryan would have to say yes to that, I guess, check that off. But from what I've heard, they've been doing well. And so Tennessee fans shouldn't have any reason to be worried. This is, I guess, in the first place, a team that wants to really hit you with the short routes and really, kind of spread you out wide in that regard. But I would think that the running back, where we are with Jabari Small and where we are with Jalen Wright, is perfectly fine right now.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ethan's right. I think those freshmen to this point have been about as good as you could expect. I mean, really, especially Dylan Sampson, given the fact that he wasn't here in the spring. And to me, it seems like he's ahead of Justin Williams-Thomas at this moment. But I think there's still just a nature of doubt with those guys because it just becomes different now. Classes start this week. Students on campus. Football's not the only thing they're doing now, like it was in camp. And then there's a nature of it. These are freshmen, and you got to go out and show it in front of 100,000 people too. I think to have that complete trust. But no, I think those four guys Tennessee feels really good about is the struggle, the depth of not having a fifth scholarship back going to derail the season, which I think was the word you used. I don't think that. Do I think it could come into play? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like you said. There were 3 or 4 games last year probably where Tennessee used 5 running backs, and maybe they didn't have to in all those games, but it did happen. And I think it's interesting you brought up Princeton Fant because one thing that I'm going to be monitoring is, do they use him? They slide him in the backfield and pass protection even before they run out of any of these guys, because I think they feel pretty good about Jabari Small in pass protection. Jalen Wright struggled in pass protection pretty badly last year as a freshman. He's been non-contact for most of fall camp. I believe he was back or he was doing full contact this week. And then those freshmen, I mean, that's kind of the biggest adjustment for freshman running backs is pass protection. So I think that's really a big question mark with of the running backs that they have on the roster. I think that's the biggest question mark, and it wouldn't surprise me if you see Princeton Fant come in some pass protection situations play running back. And I think maybe another thing I'd be interested to watch and at least monitor if depth does become a concern. Do we see Jeremy Banks, get some short yardage carries, especially if it is Jabari Small that goes down? So I think it's not a huge detriment to this team, but it's something that's going to need to be monitored, and it's something that could become a problem if injuries persist.
I would just be surprised if Banks flips. Like, with how many snaps he's going to be asked to be involved with,
He's not
him.
going to flip.
Yeah.
He might
No,
get
not what I'm saying
3,
flip,
4
but even like
carries a game.
risk an injury or something. I don't know. Like, you just need him. Like, you don't want to add more wear and tear to Jeremy Banks at this point. Like, you're just, hey, we need you out there for 90 plays a game, maybe. I don't know. We'll see with Banks, but I also think like when you see Princeton Fant and Jacob Bourne out there, my guess is they're going to be running split zone. Is my guess, and Princeton will be he'll be going after the left edge guy, and that's what I'm going to guess. So I think Princeton and Jacob will be there a lot when they're running split zone with either Jabari or Jalen. I think that's the other part of it too. Is I think the other part of the concern is that Jalen has not been healthy for 2 weeks and is doing no contact stuff. And you're like, is he right? Like you see him on the freaks list and you're like, awesome. He's going to have a breakout year, but it's also like he's hobbling into the regular season. And I think Tennessee fans would be far less concerned about the running back room if Jalen Wright did not have the banged up summer that he's had and going into the year limping. I think that's the bigger concern, where you have only one non-freshman running back that you're certain is healthy going into next year. And maybe it's just like, hey, Jabari put on weight, so now he's not going to get injured. Like, Jabari is a bigger dude, so we're not as concerned about Jabari's durability. And that would change stuff because he wasn't durable last year. And if Jabari is that this year, that's a big thing because that'll go a long way. But we'll have to see. Ethan, when you look at the Ball State game as a whole, though, what fascinates you the most about this game?
Just seeing how people that aren't named Cedric Tillman, just how they operate. I guess especially the wide receiver room is what I'm getting at there. It's kind of close to what you said earlier. Just if Bru McCoy can't go, who's going to be that next guy? Ramel Keaton is a guy I don't think that you brought up that probably will get more playing time if McCoy is not declared eligible before that. I'm not sure how he's going to do. I'm very interested to see if Jalen Hyatt does anything notable against a team like Ball State. Obviously, the cupcake game of the year that Tennessee is going to be warming up for Pitt for. Obviously, I'm very excited for that matchup. Obviously, and then obviously moving more into the season with the tough schedule that Tennessee has, but. Ball State is what Ball State is. It's going to be an easy game that Tennessee should win by 30 points, but you have to make sure that you're doing all the simple things right. I mean, you can't be fumbling the snaps on the first play of the game. You can't be, missing easy out routes. You can't be missing easy block assignments, stuff like that. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. You want Tennessee to win, but you also want them to win solidly. It doesn't need to be a 20-point game. This needs to be a 50-point game. If Tennessee's truly going to be going for 9 wins, shooting for 10 wins this season, like they say they want to, then they got to beat the Ball States convincingly, and then they got to go into Pittsburgh prepared, ready, with who's going to play for Bru McCoy if such things happen, who's going to be our running backs for this if Jalen Wright can't get healthy. And those are all the things you kind of have to look at right now, monitor and solve, I guess, going into week 2.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, probably number one, the stadium renovations. What the Jumbotron in Orphan Zone looks like.
The party area.
The party deck, all the new stuff I haven't seen. What the Vol letters look like lit up. But in seriousness, I mean, again, there's probably only so much you can glean. Everything Ethan said is accurate. Wanting to see the status quo. I think probably the one thing from a personnel standpoint I'll be interested to see is what that left tackle rotation looks like. They've said they're going to play both guys in. Jeremiah Crawford can be the starter, and they're probably going to play both guys in this game because it's Ball State, and we don't expect it to be competitive. How quickly do they rotate? How often do they rotate? What's the snap discrepancy look like between Gerald Mincy and Jeremiah Crawford? That's probably, I think, the number one most interesting thing for me because everything else, we expect the game not to be competitive. I feel like we have a pretty good idea on a lot of the position battles at this point. But the left tackle spot, it's kind of been up in the air. The only real indication we've gotten is what Heupel said, that they're going to play both guys, and the fact that it's still at left tackle. They don't feel like they need to move Darnell Wright back, which was certainly a good sign. But that's going to be the one I'm going to be watching.
Ryan, how's the secondary looking? I'm just wondering who's the leaders right now, I guess, there.
Yeah, I think Tamarion McDonald is going to start at the star spot, and I think it'll probably be Haddon and Burrell to start the season. I think we talked about this one of the last 2 weeks, Chase. I'd be one of my bold predictions. I think Christian Charles might start over Warren Burrell by the middle of the season, but I don't think that'll be the case. Week 1, and I wrote a piece yesterday, 3 reasons why Tennessee could overachieve this season. I'm going to write one today, 3 reasons why Tennessee can underachieve, and peek behind the curtain. One of those will be, the secondary just isn't. It just falls out for the secondary. I mean, the depth has been better. They look good. There's promising pieces, but at the same time, there aren't a whole lot of guys in that room we've seen play at a high level. And I think it really is, a possibility that the secondary is just bad. I mean, it's what it was in the Kentucky game. It's what it was in the Purdue game, and even probably more than the left tackle spot. I think that's probably the biggest question. Or when you look at the questions on this team, if the answers are bad, I think that one could probably have the worst result for Tennessee in the long term.
Interesting. Pivoting to baseball for a second, Ryan, when you look at the summers that a lot of guys have had, Hunter Ensley, Logan Chambers, Hollis Fanning, who popped the most to you this summer, and someone that you would not be surprised to have kind of a breakout year going into next year that Tennessee fans don't really know about yet?
Yeah, Logan Chambers is one that stands out because he was really good in the fall last year too. I mean, he's been really good every time we've seen him, besides in the season when he wasn't good and didn't play. And I can almost see it kind of being a Jarrell Ortega 2.0 situation where Ortega came in, there was a ton of buzz about him. He lost the starting job and couldn't gain any traction his first year. Comes back second year and is really, really good. So I could see that. And another one, and his numbers weren't phenomenal, but Wyatt Evans had some impressive stretches in the Cape Cod League and was really good there. And I think he's probably as talented as any of the underclassmen pitchers who didn't have a huge role last season. Those kind of midweek arms. To me, he was as impressive as any of them. So and has mid-90s stuff, and was a guy Tennessee really liked when they got over South Carolina. And then one other pitcher who probably had to me the most impressive summer was what Xander Seacrest did. I mean, he was really, really good and put up some really good numbers. So obviously he was Tennessee's midweek starter a season ago. And Tennessee has a lot of lefty arms in that bullpen, so it's not going to be anything easy for him. But he's a guy that I'm certainly going to be curious, interested to watch here in when fall practice gets going here in a couple weeks.
Man, fall practice already back. That's nuts, man.
That is nuts.
Yeah. Ethan, what do you think? Are you already doing some preliminary fall baseball research this summer?
I wish I could tell you I have been. I've been very college football the past months.
Yeah.
If I talked about it, I would sound 100 times less intelligent, so I'm just not.
No, here you go. I got you. There's a Stratton Scott who committed to the Vols, and he's going to be really good. Stratton Scott. It's a great name. It's a absolute baseball name. Stratton Scott. Like
that is a baseball name.
Farragut? You see the Farragut guy?
I feel like 19 kids have committed from Farragut to Tennessee in the last 3 weeks, so it's very possible. Ryan, is that another Farragut kid?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think he is because I remember the name from 5-star this past season.
Yeah, Stratton. Yeah. It's a bold name. Stratton is like someone you're going to be an athlete. Like there are certain names where you're just Stratton. There's no chance that you do anything else. There's no Stratton running for class president. There's no Stratton who's playing the oboe in the school band. It's not a thing. Not a bassoon for all my Only Murders in the Building super fans over on Hulu. A fantastic show that people should go check out. Season 2 just wrapped up. It's a great show on Hulu. If you need a break from, oh my God, what's going on with Vol Twitter? Hey, just pop on Hulu. Only Murders in the Building. It's fantastic. Something you might know a little bit about, though, Ethan. Freddie DeLeon. Delone. Do we know? How about that?
Pronounce it.
I had a pronunciation guide, or that's not what it's called, but whatever those things are called. And DeLeon is how I read it. I haven't had anyone tell it to me yet. I would feel better if I could hear someone sound it out. But DeLeon is my understanding from that.
My internal dialogue also read it as DeLeon. I'm going to say that Ryan's right here because that confirms that I was right in my mind. So
yeah,
I'm going to say that Ryan was correct there.
Well, he moved up the charts. Like he how does this work? So where is he now in the rankings, and like how much bigger of a commitment is it for him now to commit to the Vols?
If I'm not mistaken, he moved to top 25, I think he's 24 or something like that, the number 4 combo guard. Something like that. I could just look this up while I'm talking. But
that's right. He's on 247's personal rankings, which is what got updated this week. He's 24.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, huge pickup for Tennessee. I don't have to tell you about that. The class of 2023 guy, combo guard. He's going to be a guy that is only getting better from what I've heard. He's a guy that is moving up. 24 is probably not going to be his peak, and I think Rick Barnes and company are going to love him. There's really not much more to say after that. I feel like it's the second commitment of Barnes' 2023 class, I believe. And, you know, it gets me excited for basketball season, man. I know football season's literally tomorrow, but we've got just a couple months till basketball season. And obviously DeLeon will be on campus next season in the class of 2023. So very interested to see what he can do on the court, where he projects for the future, if he goes up, if he goes down. From what I've seen, from what I've heard, from the highlights I've watched of the guy, from the little I know about him, he's going to be trending up for Tennessee. And I don't know. It might be crazy to say it, but he might get the 5-star ranking. You just never know.
I'm also curious. Is Estrella, when is he making his decision? Do we know that?
A week from today.
Okay. And it seems like he's still leaning Tennessee?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah, I don't think it's been anything definitive, but a lot of crystal balls, predictions. I don't know what the other sites call it, or predictions. The prediction machine seems to favor Tennessee right now, but I don't know if that one's a complete done deal. But again, I think kind of with Estrella, similar to DeLeon, where it's a guy that Tennessee got in on early before they really blew up, and I think that paid huge dividends for him. And I think it's a good testament to the scouting, because over the last year, I don't know if there's been two guys that have skyrocketed up the recruiting rankings as much as those two.
Uh-oh. Is there a conspiracy here, Ryan? Like the way your friend, like two guys have skyrocketed right around the time they commit to the Vols. Is there more at play here? Is this why the NCAA is holding up the Bru McCoy situation? Is there more at play here? How deep does this go?
I do not think there's more at play here. I am not suggesting any recruiting website conspiracy to bump Tennessee commits. Estrella has gotten bumped a lot before commitment, and
okay.
I spent all summer seeing Jeff Goodman talk about how much he likes Freddie DeLeon, and see every update I see on the kid said he's going to get bumped in the next recruiting ranking. So I don't think any conspiracy here, but it certainly works out well for the Vols recruiting rankings.
If you're big, you want to go to Tennessee. Like Barnes, it's like I'll play a 5 at the 2. I don't care. Try and stop me. Try and stop me. Who needs spacing?
We need point euros this
Yeah.
year.
And I mean, you look at it. This going into next year, Olivier's probably going to be gone. Euros could be gone. You know, Jonas Adu's kind of the one big man that you feel like when Estrella, when Dilliam get here, is still going to kind of be on the team. So it certainly makes sense that Tennessee's been appealing to big men. They're going to be able to offer playing time, and obviously Cade Phillips, the other guy that had power forward out of Alabama. I really like both those guys. It would certainly be big for Tennessee to get Estrella in the boat next week.
There you go. Ethan, what can the good folks check out from you at the new Digs Saturday Down South? Friend of the Pods, Connor O'Gara, Chris Marler, all those guys over there. What can they check out from you? You had the Bru McCoy piece debut over there, but what else?
Yeah, first plan piece. Obviously, like I said a couple days ago, it ran just about Bru McCoy, about the bad luck Tennessee has had in the transfer portal as of late, getting eligibility passed. And Monday, I'm going to have another one, likely. Also kind of off topics we've talked about today, just on running backs, how Tennessee will fare moving forward with obviously Jalen Wright and Jabari Small as the feature guys, without Lyn-J Dixon obviously just leaving. And I'm just going to be putting in hours on the news desk. So just keep up national news, anything interesting. I'll probably be writing about it at some point this week.
There you go. There you go. What about you, Ryan Schumpert, over at Rocky Top Insider?
Yeah, everything getting you ready for the season. Like I said, had the 3 reasons why Tennessee will overachieve yesterday. We'll have why they could underachieve today. So all that good stuff. We'll have you updated on Estrella as well. Anything that happens there in the next week before its commitment. So just par for the course over at RTI.
There you go. There you go. Ryan, Ethan, thank you as always. I greatly appreciate it. You guys have yourself a great weekend, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Sounds great.